What's up, guys? All right, we got us a big old green day. You know who it is, you know who it be. It's your boy TV from SMB coming at you with a fresh little market analysis video today on this big green bounce that we got today. We got a big old green one today. They really threw us in for a bit of a curveball already starting the week off. We get this massive green dingus right off the bottom, right off that nasty sell-off we had on Friday. Big old green day on the S&P, 2.5%. Nasdaq putting in about 2.25% to the upside. We got Apple up 3%, Nvidia up 3%, Google up 3.25%. You know, the big names are rallying today. Worth mentioning though was Tesla. Tesla was down 8% today on really bad news that they missed their delivery numbers. So you can see this is what I'm seeing here on Tesla. See this big red trend line? Just that's its trend line support. It cracked right through that right here. So Tesla is looking super bearish as of this video, with that being the absolute baseline support. Super high volume sell off. Looks like a turd falling right out of the bottom of that thing. Just big dump on an otherwise very green day. So it's like imagine how green the market would have been if one of the biggest market caps wasn't down almost 9% today. But let's get into levels and let's talk about where I'm looking, what I am making of a day like today, I should say. But and why I'm not like immediately going like, everything's bullish. Now we got the bottom. For me, this was a totally not expected, but not surprising whatsoever. Why would you be surprised by the market taking a massive dump at the end of the day on Friday, and then just immediately opening up on Monday, the very next day, just green as can possibly be, the biggest gap up, and then just zoop straight up all day. I mean, if you're surprised by that, you haven't been in this stock market for this past year, but I know better now. Look at this nice little bear flag or not bear flag, but that trend line that it bounced off perfectly up here, 3,600 or 3,700 basically. Actually, let's look at SPY. I like my chart better on SPY. So, something worth mentioning though is that we did break this trend line. We did have a bit of a falling wedge going on here on SPY. If I can draw that out real quick, that kind of looking thing. So we have broken out of that. This green line, we broke out of that to the upside. All my levels are still legit. All the ones I was trading on last week are still legit. So I am looking upside. We do have a gap to fill. So that is the main magnet, I would say, pulling the market up is this big old gap to fill on SPY that I imagine it will want to fill before we inevitably end up going back down. But got to watch out for that. We do have a bit of a rising wedge that we broke out of at the end of the day today. See if anything comes of that. But looking at the hourly, we did break above this 50-hour moving average, this yellow line that I talked about, that we bounced off of, that was sitting right on top of that trend line. We have broken out above that. We're above the 30-minute one, obviously. We're still below everything on the 4-hour, but my main level, switching over to SPX because I got that level, is still this level up here. This is still the critical level that unless we break above that, nothing changes to me. This is all just tradable price action. Typical stuff, 37.42. If we can't break above that, then I don't care what the market does. It could go sideways this entire week and nothing changes. That's the level to reclaim. So I see no reason to go mega bullish, even though I see all these moving averages breaking. Looking at the VIX, VIX is just making a huge bull flag on the 4-hour. I mean, look at this. Just a perfect little down channeling bull flag. We did break below 30, but it ended up closing above 30 for a very short time. We were below 30 just barely, but it did hold up on 30, so we got to get out of 30 on the VIX if you want to see any upside. I'm looking at 28.50. If we break below 28.50, I would consider the market to be very bullish, but we are obviously not there yet. But yeah, to me, that's what I got. That's what I got on SPY. Otherwise, I'm gonna look and see if we can hold this 365, 366 area. That is a pretty key zone that we were having trouble breaking out of. If we can break above this blue trend line I have up here as well. But then just looking for the gap fill, and then you can see where we've sold out of over here. See that supply zone. Pretty easy to visualize that one. So once we fill that gap, we will be in that supply zone. I imagine we will see some sellers step up at that point. But if not, we can just break that gap, break above 372 on SPY, and then we got more of the gap to fill up there. But then once that gap is filled, that is, like I said this all week last week. Once that gap's filled, I'm looking short. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know what else there is to say about it unless we get some very crazy upward price action. I would be looking for shorts. So right now, I'm personally sitting in a SPY November 18th put, pretty far out of the money, like a 340 strike price or something. I bought time, so I'm not worried at all after a day like today. I mean, it sucks. It's down like 30% or something. So if it goes down like 50%, which it will be once we're up to this level. So that's where I would look to add another one if we do bounce off of that level and head back to the downside. But if we just clap right through this level at 37.42, which is basically, what is this level on SPY? Let's see if I can get that level up here on SPY. Yeah, about 373 on SPY. So if we run up to that, tap it, resist, I'm looking at another put. If we get a break of that and a retest and we hold that, I'm just going to cut that put, cut my losses. But I bought a lot of time. That's why you buy time on these puts. This put I have, it's all the way out in November. So one green day, I got 46 days left on this put. One green day is not going to shake me out of it. I know there are a lot of shorts, so I think that's definitely factoring into why we squeezed up so high today. Was just there are so many shorts right now in the market. But otherwise, everything still looks as bearish. I mean, there's it's such a shit show right now. The UK just barely avoided financial ruin. Credit Suisse is about to have a Lehman Brothers type moment. The Swiss bank there, they're on the brink of bankruptcy, and all the news reports coming out are them saying, no, we're fine, we're good, we're fine. But it always happens like that. It's never like, we're a little worried, because they don't want to start panic. It's always, yeah, we're good and fine, and then bottom falls out, panic, they are bankrupt, and now they have to get bailed out by their own the Swiss federal bank has to bail them out. So that kind of situation can happen. If something like that happens, that's a big news story. That's the type of thing that could cause some kind of capitulation sell-off. I'm just not seeing it yet. That's why I bought so much time on this put. And yeah, for me, this was just a typical trading day. I mean, a nice green day. If you were on the call side of it, bravo. You cashed out, and you got some mega balls if you were buying calls down here at the bottom. I applaud you. But looking at tomorrow, my price target to the downside to see if we can break 365 to 365.50 to 365 just even. See if we can break below that for more downside. But if we hold up this level right here at 366 and we bounce off of this right where we closed out at, which we're actually after hours, it looks like we're heading down a little bit, then I will be looking to a little upside, and I might just grab a call. I did grab a call today. I sold for like a $5 gain on the Nasdaq. I mean, I just can't go off of one green day. I gotta see another day. Oh, and the other thing I haven't even mentioned yet: volume. When you're looking for trends and you're looking to see if something is real, you gotta look at the volume. Now, what stands out amongst this green candle? The very low volume. That's, in my opinion, what stands out. This does not look like a candle where it's like, oh, everything's good, the bottom's in, everyone's buying in. This looks like a classic low volume rally that is just the biggest dead cat bounce. And unless we see another big green day with big green volume tomorrow, I'm going to think that way. But I'm open. If we do go upside, I will grab a call to hedge that downside position I have, like a week out call or so. But yeah, today it was a very tradable day, but I just wasn't playing. I was playing on, honestly, like a big sell-off today. And didn't happen. So what you gonna do? Oh, and then we also have our 30-minute 50 simple moving average right here at 364.30. So once that's up about 365, that's where we'll have support, or we'll have to find support if we want more upside, assuming we just don't go straight up from here. But that's what I'm looking out for. Let's take a look at the Nasdaq. So another thing worth mentioning is that the Nasdaq, It was green, but it wasn't nearly as green as the S&P. Today was kind of just energy stocks rallied like crazy. The price of oil is skyrocketing. Obviously, that isn't very bullish. Price of oil went up 4% today. Not bullish, inflationary. Um, but just looking at ExxonMobil was up 5%. Marathon Oil was up 10%. I mean, these monster oil companies were up huge today. I know all the healthcare companies were up today. So this was not a kind of like tech leading the rally kind of thing, which you typically look for if you want some upside, because usually QQQ makes the big move and then SPY follows, and same with the way down. It leads it down, it leads it up. But you get a day where the Nasdaq's not nearly as green as the rest of the market, and it is kind of concerning because it kind of tells me maybe, hey, maybe tech isn't going to lead this rally up, and maybe it was just following the rest of the market. I don't know. Something to think about. Also, very low volume on the Nasdaq on the day. Um, Last time we had this super low green volume, it was right before we fell off a cliff. So another thing worth mentioning, you gotta watch out for that. But I mean, there just the macro, the world economy right now is just it's suffering. Like you have countries like the UK, they're cutting interest, no, not cutting interest rates, but they're stopping quantitative tightening. They're pleading the UN also and the UK are pleading with our federal bank to be like, please stop raising interest rates. It's too much. So we have to wait until the next FOMC meeting to see if they actually listen or see if they actually keep going with the interest rates. From what we know, they're just going to keep going and going and going. And they said, we don't give a shit. It's going to be painful and it's going to suck for a long time. But we got to do this. Inflation is the enemy. We haven't seen inflation coming down. Inflation is just stable. It's not come down really at all. It's basically just staying where it is. So all these reasons is what I tell myself when I see a big green day like today. Why I'm because you see a big green day like today, and I want to be like, oh, that's a bounce day. This is a bottom is in day. We're bouncing from here. But then you cannot just ignore all the outside noise. In bull markets, you can, but we're not in bull markets. Bear markets are brought on by the outside noise because it is loud and very uncertain. And the outside noise is what's caused the market to do what it's been doing. When that's obvious, just from when Powell spoke at Jackson Hole, the market dropped 4%. You can't tell me that the outside noise should be ignored. It should not be the only thing you trade on. It should be like a third of it, maybe. But especially when you're thinking long term. Brought to you by Celsius. But anyways, looking at the Nasdaq. Now that I'm done rambling, looking at the Nasdaq levels. All right, trading review. What are you doing? Internet dead. What's going on? All right, I have to go to Thinkorswim. Looks like this very poorly timed internet outage. Well, all right. Looks like I'm not getting to the Nasdaq today, but here we go. I have it up on Webull. Nasdaq, same kind of thing. I'm looking at 272. If we can bounce off of that level. Oh, here we go. There it is. So if we can bounce off this level right here on the Nasdaq 272, you can see where we rejected that earlier today. We come down, we retest it, break. So if we get yanked back down to that level and we bounce off of that, I'd be looking for upside. That's a great call play right there. If we do pull down to that level and you see any bounce whatsoever, I would imagine that's a great opportunity for some very good risk to reward calls on that, and that's exactly what I'm going to be looking to play tomorrow. But upside, you can see right where we rejected, right there at 275. I mean, it was just perfect. Look at this. It's looking like a double top kind of thing. Definitely going to watch out for that on the Nasdaq. Otherwise, it's still kind of in this, if you look at the hourly, it's still in this falling wedge kind of thing we got here. See this big ol', I'll make it nice and larger so we can all see it. You can see this falling wedge, this trend line. It's coming down right here, trend line right there. We broke out of it for an hour, and look at that. That's our hourly 50-hour moving average right there. That yellow line, I was talking about that. Remember we rejected off of that today? We rejected off of it again today. And we closed this candle below that trend line. So we're retesting that trend line. So this is very much like bounce or die kind of thing. So, and just looking, I mean, at what the market's been doing these past like 7 trading sessions, I mean, it's been painful. This has been some sloppy. We had 4 days of straight chop, and now we've had basically 3 days of chopping around this. I mean, it's been pain. It's been chopping in between 281 and 267 for about 7 days now. I mean, this has been some rough trading action, but this is just consolidation before a big move. I'm going to go with where most of the money is on it and say it's going to be to the downside. I'm not going to say I know it's coming down. I'm going to say a lot of people think it's going to come down, and you can feel that the tension is rising. You're getting these news of the Credit Suisse could potentially go bankrupt. You're seeing what Europe is dealing with. Their inflation is just going crazy right now. I mean, their inflation, and then you got to look at how the dollar is moving. I mean, the British pound and Chinese currency, I mean, people are fleeing. They are dumping their money into the US dollar. It is the safe haven currency, and that is so bad for American companies. So you just have to factor all these things in. Where the dollar has been this past couple quarter. I mean, the dollar has just been skyrocketing, and that's just terrible for U.S. companies. Any U.S. company that takes any kind of international business, it hurts bad when the dollar is this strong. So, got to consider all these factors. Got to consider what the VIX is doing. But trade your plan, stick to your plan. I stuck to my plan. I was not going to see one green day and be like, hey, calls, long out calls. If you are of the opinion that, hey, everyone's going short, I'm going to go long, then there's nothing wrong with that either. Just I would suggest doing it with a hedge. It's not going to be what I'm doing. I need to see more. I need to see the Fed actually talk to the market in a nice way, or maybe even potentially pivot. If we get a pivot in November at their FOMC meeting, or if we get a big drop in inflation this next CPI reading, then I would be looking to the upside. But until then, I gotta stick with the trend. I'm not gonna fight the trend. The trend is your friend, and it takes a 5-year-old to look at this chart and tell you what is the trend to the downside. So, all that in mind, anything can happen. I don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen. I look at the chart, and that's all I'm getting out of this chart. So, thanks for watching, guys. Please drop a like, drop a comment. Let me know if you enjoyed it, or if you guys want me to do anything, go over specific stocks. I appreciate it. But I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.